收看今天的汉天新闻，我是赵子彤。首先来看国际方面的消息。当地时间22日，美国国会众议院对美国驻乌克兰大使馆临时代表泰勒举行了一次不对外的听证会。据报道，这位外交官做出了不利于美国总统川普的发言，指出川普总统曾指令暂停对乌克兰的军援，以最终损害民主党籍的政治对手拜登。数月来，川普本人始终坚称不存在以物换物的条件，从未向乌克兰提出过交换条件，并表示民主党人现在对他展开弹劾调查程序是私刑处死。
Bill Taylor sending shockwaves through Capitol Hill, telling Congress multiple administration officials informed him that President Trump personally blocked military aid unless Ukraine agreed to announce investigations into the Bidens and the 2016 U.S. election. Sources say those inside audibly gasped and sighed just from the top U.S. diplomat to Ukraine's opening statement.
In my 10 short months in Congress, this is my most disturbing day in Congress so far.
Taylor providing a clearer timeline of events based on copious notes he kept of his communications, saying he shared those notes with the State Department, which is refusing to give them to congressional investigators.
He's filling in some gaps. He's sharing with us in a pretty candid way and his experience.
The 50-year career diplomat detailing a conversation with U.S. Ambassador to the European Union, Gordon Sondland, who he says told him everything was dependent on such an announcement, including security assistance, adding he said that President Trump wanted President Zelensky in a public box by making a public statement about ordering such investigations. Taylor telling Congress he disagreed with the tactic, but Sondland repeatedly tried to explain the president's intent. According to Taylor, Sondland told him, when a businessman is about to sign a check to someone who owes him something, the businessman asks that person to pay up before signing the check. The next day, the diplomat raised concern in a text message exchange with Sondland, writing, I think it's crazy to withhold security assistance for help with a political campaign. After speaking with President Trump, Sondland stressed that was not the case. Texting, I believe you're incorrect about President Trump's intentions. The president has been crystal clear. No quid pro quos of any kind. The White House quickly attempting to discredit Taylor and the impeachment inquiry, saying this is a coordinated smear campaign from far-left lawmakers and radical, unelected bureaucrats waging war on the Constitution. There was no quid pro quo. Trump's Republican allies doing the same.
I've been in there for 10 hours. I can assure you there was no quid pro quo.
But House Democrats are adamant Taylor's testimony directly links the president to a quid pro quo.
You can't just commit a crime and say that you didn't and then expect it to go away.
It's and applauding him for testifying against the Trump administration's wishes.
He came forward, again, at risk of his career, at expense to himself. He had no incentive but to tell the truth, and I believe that's what he did today.
当地时间周三，英国警方在东南部埃塞克斯郡的一个卡车集装箱中发现了39具尸体，引发轩然大波。据了解，这辆卡车在当地一个工业园区内被发现，警方已立即展开调查。目前已经逮捕了25岁的司机，并展开了谋杀调查。来自北爱尔兰，而对案件的具体细节现在还处于调查之中。
In the early hours this morning, this ordinary-looking industrial park became the site of a really gruesome and horrifying scene. Just beyond these barricades the police have set up, there is a semi-truck where 39 bodies were discovered inside of them. Police got the call from the ambulance service. Who called them, though, is still very unclear at this point. Police are saying very little other than the fact that they are working at this point to identify the identities of those on board. They are not saying the nationalities of them either. What they are saying, though, is that a 25-year-old man from Northern Ireland has been arrested on suspicion of murder. They've also said that this truck originated in Bulgaria, and they think that it entered the UK from Holyhead, which is a port city in northwestern Wales, which is sort of an odd route considering the route from Bulgaria. You would have had to go through Ireland. Likely, one industry expert said that may have been to avoid more stringent checks through France, where they have dogs and they have heart rate monitors that can more easily detect human beings inside of the cargo. That expert also said that he believes that this was a refrigeration truck. Depending on what it was carrying, it would have been set at -5 or -10 if there was in fact a load on board. Again, there are a lot of questions still at this hour. Police are not saying whether they believe this is human trafficking, human smuggling, but they are saying that they are working to investigate as quickly as they can. Reporting in Grays, England, I'm Scott McLean.
Shortly before 1:40 a.m. today, we received reports that a number of people had been found inside a lorry's container at the Waterglade Industrial Park on Eastern Avenue in Grays. We believe the lorry is from Bulgaria and came into the UK through Holyhead on the 19th of October. Emergency services attended, but sadly all 39 people inside the container had died. Early indications suggest that one of these people was a teenager, the rest are believed to be adults. A murder investigation was launched and the lorry driver, a 25-year-old man from Northern Ireland, was arrested on suspicion of murder and remains in police custody. At this stage, we have not identified where the victims are from or their identities, and we anticipate this could be a lengthy process. I would like to thank the local community, and in particular those who have been directly affected by the police cordon at the industrial site. Thank you for your cooperation, and I appreciate the impact the road closure will have on businesses within the cordon. I'm unable to say at this stage how long the cordon will be in place, but please let me reassure you that my officers and partners will be doing everything they can to release the scene as soon as possible. This is an absolute tragedy and very sad day for Essex Police and the local community. We will continue to work alongside many other partner agencies to find out what led to these deaths. I'd like to appeal for anyone who has any information to contact my officers at the Major Investigation Team on 101 or by visiting our Essex Police website. We will update all of our channels as we're able to, but please appreciate we're in the early stages of what is likely to be a lengthy investigation.
在美国从叙利亚撤军后，俄罗斯方面的消息称，土耳其总统埃尔多安和俄罗斯总统普京周二在索契举行会谈，商讨叙利亚局势。会后，两国宣布达成协议，土俄军方将协调库尔德武装、人民保护部队撤至叙利亚东北部与土耳其边境30公里的安全区外。今后，土俄两军会对安全区进行联合巡逻。
Well, it's a landmark deal, really, on paper between Moscow and Ankara here, announced in Sochi with great bonhomie, frankly, between President Putin and President Erdogan. They talked about culture, they talked about trade, but most importantly, they hammered out the basic details of how this new deal would work. Russia very clear, just after it had happened, to send a direct message to the United States to butt out entirely, to let this deal take precedence to the US brokered ceasefire that expired a matter of hours ago. It's unclear if we will see nothing but peace, but at this point all eyes are on noon Wednesday when this deal is supposed to kick into effect. Syrian regime border guards are supposed to go to the border then with Russian military police and establish control along that border. At that point there will be 150 hours, about 6 days, in which the Syrian Kurds are supposed to pull back from the border, their fighters and their weapons, to a distance of 30 kilometres. Once that has occurred, then the Russian military police and the Turkish military launch joint patrols in a buffer zone that's 10 kilometres depth along the border. Quite what happens in the 20 kilometres between that zone and where the Syrian Kurds are supposed to have pulled back to, we simply don't know at this point. What we do know is that the area the Turkish have already taken, often with the Syrian rebels that they're backing, who the US have called mostly extremists, well, they get to keep that to a depth of 32 kilometres between the towns of Tal Abyad and Ras Al Ain. That will be something of a victory for them, but also, too, the Syrian Kurds, they get to hang on to control and find exempt from these patrol areas the city of Qamishli, which is a key stronghold for them. What we don't know at this point is how much the Syrian Kurds want to go along with this. I suspect that while they probably won't be particularly happy at this distance from the border, they'll likely go along with it because the Syrian regime is really their closest ally now. The Americans have turned their backs on them under the orders of President Trump, and Russia has their backs with air power too. This is probably something that's taken a lot of background chats between Moscow and Ankara to define, and it's quite clearly got the United States nowhere near it at all. Will it last? That is unclear. It possibly represents a status quo, a stalemate that all sides can probably live with, but it certainly marks a change in the geopolitics of the region. One important thing to remember here is that Turkey is a NATO member, and it's dealing now in a diplomatic settlement with Russia that NATO was created to oppose. And now Russia's military police are patrolling along a long stretch of NATO's southernmost border, because that's what Turkey's border is too. A startling chain of events geopolitically, and one that potentially ends this Syria crisis if it sustains, with Moscow certainly in the driving seat. Nick Payton-Walsh, CNN, Erbil, Northern Iraq.
为阻止民众的示威游行活动进一步扩大，黎巴嫩政府21日推出经济改革方案，包含17项要点，涉及削减官员福利等措施。政府同一天通过2020年财政预算案，内容包括不再增加新税收项目。黎巴嫩总理在记者会上发言，称政府致力于重新获得民众信任。然而，一些对抗民众的采访却显示，他们对新的经济政策也不完全满意。
Whatever's on your mind, you can write it down on a long sheet of white paper stretching along the side of Beirut's Martyrs Square. An initiative by the civil society group Beirut Madinati, or Beirut is my city.
If the politicians don't want to hear us, they can see what is our demand today.
Monday, Prime Minister Saad al-Hariri went on television to insist he did hear the demands from Lebanon's increasingly restive streets, announcing a set of reforms designed to address the flagging economy and clamp down on official corruption. But that falls far short of what those in the street are demanding. They want the entire political elite to go.
The fact that you can come together now and say, yeah, we can do these reforms only is proof of how corrupt you really are, because you never did them before. It just goes to show that you've had this power and you never exerted it except to fill your own pockets.
The gap between the ruling class and the rest of the population is becoming a yawning chasm.
It's too late, it's too little. We're not going to take it and we don't trust them. Look at those people, no one trusts they're going to do anything.
We're done. We're fed up with this. We need reforms, real reforms.
Lebanon's October Revolution has taken on a life of its own, where public spaces have been reclaimed, a sense of community rekindled. Prime Minister Saad al-Hariri came out with a raft of reforms, hoping it might bring the protests that have been going on across Lebanon to an end. But he didn't find many takers here. The protests carry on. Ben Wiedemann, CNN, Beirut.
日前，在美国爱荷华州立大学的一栋房屋中出现了喷绘的种族歧视性质标语，引发了社会的关注。据了解，这一标语针对的是校园内的墨西哥裔美国学生。学校的其他师生纷纷表示无法接受这种行为，希望学校跟警方进行彻查。校方也澄清，这是一个公平公正的校园，他们不允许种族歧视的行为在这里发展。
How did it make you feel?
It was very offensive and it was very hurtful.
This is Liliana Delgado.
Hey, it's Liliana.
She's the community student advisor on the 6th floor in Joffrey Hall. That's also known as Bean Floor.
It's dehumanizing a person. It's also not, it's not used as a compliment to your culinary or anything like that. It's meant to be derogatory.
Delgado says the Mexican American students on this floor were targeted with the racial slur.
Now you can see that the hall is back to its normal name, but this is the photo that's been making its rounds. Students were so embarrassed by the racial slur that they didn't want to go up to it to take a picture.
It's terrible. It's not good to have that kind of stuff on a college campus.
I don't know, I was kind of shocked that someone would just kind of go towards that kind of vandalism and be a little racist.
10 days after the slur was nailed to the wall.
And this right here is where the vandalism happened, and when the letters were taken off, it chipped off paint.
Delgado posted a flyer asking students for feedback on how to make the hall better. That's when another racial slur was posted in Bean Hall.
So it was asking for positive, constructive criticism. It wasn't meant to be a space for inappropriate language or behavior.
And someone wrote,
more beaners.
Delgado now hopes students will realize this is offensive.
I think if Iowa State and the residence halls want to be an inclusive and diverse place, then we can't have any tolerance for anything, and they shouldn't belong in these spaces.
休息一下，马上回来。